Okay, so good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. I'm Amy Doyle, the Manager of Client Services at Communicator, and I want to thank you for joining this webinar this morning, which we are presenting with Liveclicker. You'll see from the first slide that the theme of this webinar is Set and Forget Email Marketing Efficiency for the Time-Poor Marketer. So many of you on this call will be familiar with Liveclicker already, as they are our partner of choice for real-time email optimization. So today I'll be passing you over to Jen Liveclicker, who is going to talk through some real-time elements that you can utilize in order to get the most out of your email marketing with minimal time commitments from your team. And with that, Jen, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Amy. Can everyone hear me okay? And can you see my screen all right? Amy, if you want to, that's audio okay?
All good from me. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Well, I just want to say thank you very much for your time today. As Amy said, we work in partnership with Communicator. We've been working together for the last 4 years. Some of you are already au fait with our offering, are involved already in the system and in your campaigns. And the theme today is to really show you what some of our other clients are doing to make workflow efficiencies in this very challenging time. So just to show you the agenda, we'll get started. So what I want to go through are some of the challenges that's being faced by today's modern marketer, run through those, but then show you some solutions, run through some workflow efficiencies and some recommendations how you can use the various elements to remove some of these barriers. What we'll be covering, and I'll go into sort of a workflow here, are custom fields and targeting rules, looking at live scrape, live feed, live data, and with each of those, I'm going to present you the use cases for each of those elements, some examples of where other clients have used these to ease those challenges, and then we'll jump in very briefly into the platform so I can show you where each of these live and how to utilize them. And then we'll go through any questions at the end. Also, what I just want to say is if you do have questions at the end of each section, each element, go ahead and feel free to ask as we go. Okay. So what are some of these challenges that the current modern marketer are facing? So one is resources. There's a pressure for marketing departments to deliver more results, decrease in resources, and also budgets. Time. 53% of brands take more than 2 weeks to produce an email. And also workload. 46% of smaller email teams have about 1 to 5 emails in the pipeline at all times. And another 23% are juggling up to 10 emails in a go. Larger email groups can have up to 25 emails in the works. That's staggering. Also focus. So looking at graphics and design, coding and development versus testing and managing the data that's behind the scenes. So there's always that challenge, that ebb and flow. And also reviewing, plan, do, review. 39% of teams review their automated messages every few months, while 37% review them once a year, and 24% review only every 2 to 3 years. So those are some of the challenges, and also with recent times, that adds more pressure. Budgets are being scrutinized. So it's looking at our technology and seeing how that can be utilized to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So solutions. I've come up with about 5 to 6 different solutions into how to lift some of these barriers and different workflow efficiency recommendations. So we're going to dive right in and go through each one of these. So the first one, these are some really basic, easy to get set up and running with. Targeting rules. So looking at how we can utilize targeting rules such as language, time of day, weather and device to create numerous localized versions of a single message template. Custom fields. So looking at our segmentation targeting, adjusting our messages and content to customer segments based on status. I'll also show you how you can update live campaigns. So you might have campaigns currently running that are triggered, and you might need to quickly react and swap out images or messaging on the fly. So, looking at our current status and situation, messages are changing daily. It's how we can be on top of that. And then looking at some of the other elements that may not have been utilized thus far. I know a lot of people are currently looking at timers, personalized live images, video in some instances. So it's looking at the next level, how we can level up and use things like live scrape, live feeds to update inventory, offers, blog posts, your social media, content from the website as it changes in real time. Always keeping those email communications up to date. And then one last thing I want to touch on is something called live data that you all might not be aware of. But this is allowing you to get reporting metrics such as duration of open, location, device, and email client for non-Liveclicker campaigns. So getting the most out of that data and reporting. So I'll jump into each one of these as we go into the use cases and a demonstration. So the first one, custom fields and targeting rules. I'll touch on the custom fields first. So how can we utilize custom fields? So one, very basically, personalization, looking at any kind of first name personalization, segmentation, if you have a rewards or a loyalty scheme, sending different messages and different offers based on that information and letting one campaign do a lot of the work. Just set it up once, and those different custom fields in conjunction with the rule sets, which I'll cover next, can do a lot of that work for you so that you're not having to create different variants. I'll show you some examples here for loyalty and rewards points. And then they can also be used for birthday and anniversary campaigns as well. So the first one I want to show you is Formula One. Just jump into that. Okay, so this is for the Formula One Fantasy. And it's a personalized summary email, almost like a year in review email, that's using 10 different custom fields for personalization. So here for Jack, it's just summing up his activity for 2019, showing what his final score was. That's being pulled in from a custom field, his different stats at speed, country rank, best Grand Prix. Also some more of his stats here that you can see. And then kind of a ranking here as well, which is a really nice touch. And then comparing you versus the pros. So very tailored. It's not overly over the top in terms of Big Brother. It's very relevant, but it's pulling in that custom data that really gives that warm and personal feel. So that's the Formula One example. Just a couple of other ones. Regal Cinemas have done this for their Crown Club. So this is a loyalty scheme as well. Credits, how many credits they have, how many visits they've had to the cinema. Their 2019 year in review. So looking at what that individual's personal stats are. This is Jenny, for example, compared to some of the overall cinema stats. How much popcorn they have popped through that year. How many refreshments they've served up in conjunction with a nice animation there. So really making that personal, really making that connection with Regal Cinemas and that loyalty scheme. And how many visits they've had. Sorry, scrolls working there. Here we go. So yeah, again, very tailored, using those custom fields to populate that information. And then I've got a couple more here just to show you before I show you where that is within the system. Ulta Beauty have done it again, a nice year in review email. Doesn't have to be year in review, it could be monthly, based on a loyalty or reward scheme. But just showing here, and this one has more of an animation to it. How many points to redeem, how many points earned, how much saved. And then just saying, okay, here's what our scheme looks like, based on a basic member, if you're platinum, if you're diamond. Again, these fields can be pulled into the custom fields for segmentation to send different messaging, different imagery, different offers, utilizing one campaign. Okay. And then finally, I've got one for Hertz. So they've done a mid-year review for their Gold Plus rewards. So just showing here a nice animation at the top, what mid-year looked like for 2019. And then this differs for each individual, how many times they've rented, their top location, how many points they have in balance, and then how much time they've saved when they've skipped the counter. And they've done that 2 times. So again, nice personal touch. It's warm. It's utilizing those custom fields again. Very simple to do. And it's just, again, one of those things that you set up once and really personalize that communication. Once you set up those custom fields, they're always there available to use in setup. And I can show you how to go about that now. Okay, so the custom fields are located in the Account Settings tab, this tab here at the cogwheel. And this is just a test account that I'm in. So bear with me just a moment while that loads. There we go. Okay, and then you can see the tab here, Custom Fields. If I click on that, and I go to this tab here, Custom Fields, you can have up to 20 at any one time, but then with the potential, if you go past the 20, to add up to 40. So things like very basically first name for image personalization to add in there. If you're the travel sector, destination city or departure date. Language targeting. I had one client use the language custom field, and then in conjunction with the targeting rules, they were doing a couple years ago for GDPR, utilizing live video. They had 20 different language variants to communicate out to, and did this with one campaign using the language custom field. They knew, which language their customer base spoke in, and then used that setup with the targeting rules to send one campaign out to 20 different audiences serving the relevant video in that native language for the recipient. So just a nice example, a nice way that that can be used. Again, loyalty points, reward points, any kind of segmentation that you have. If you just add the ESP tags in there, that will filter through into the system in the setup area, as well as the targeting rules, as well as the reporting. You can utilize that. So it's, again, a one and done. So that's how the custom fields work. Any questions thus far for the custom fields example before I head into targeting rules? No? Okay, so I will continue with the targeting rules section. Oh, sorry, here's just a case study for Hertz as well. So their manual mapping process to deliver all the information in email prior to working with Liveclicker was a bit of a mess, really. So, things were here, there, and everywhere. So we worked together with them to pull in, maps for their local location, directions, utilizing weather in their campaigns, as well as the kind of custom fields that I've just shown you. That had a significant reduction in production time savings, and as a result, response rates went up. It was more tailored, it was more personal, and it just enhanced the overall customer experience by providing the highly personalized content relevant to their needs. Okay, targeting rules. So these work, again, in conjunction with the custom fields. You set up your custom fields for anything personal that you've got in terms of ESP fields, but we also have native within the platform, based on moment of open information, things like weather, language-based. So if you don't have your own language settings, or you're not marketing to different language bases that often, we go based off of browser, where people are opening, what language they're opening in. You can do time-based rules, so time of day, different offers. So for example, if you want to do something for like a Christmas campaign, I know that's way out, always good to get ahead of the curve. So if you wanted to do like a 12 days of Christmas type of offer, you could set up one campaign, and that offer imagery would swap out every day. You wouldn't have to touch it. It would just do it on its own. You can even set up rule sets based on user interaction. So again, serving different content based on if they've opened the email more than once. You might want to swap out different imagery, different messages based on click-through, how many times they're clicking through, and swapping that offer out. And as I touched on, any kind of segment-based offers, so based on those custom fields, product, category, interest, spend. And the example I'm about to show you now is for Dane deals. So they are based in Switzerland and Germany, kind of like a voucher. if you will. So they have different offers going on at different times. And what they've done, and I know that's kind of in French here at the moment, but what they've done here is every 2 hours, they set up time-based targeting rules for the image and the offer to swap out. So come back every 2 hours, we'll have a different offer for you. Again, it's one campaign setup, setting up those targeting rule sets in conjunction with those custom fields, and then the system swapping out that information for you. Just going back here again, just something else I want to mention. You could do things based on weather imagery. So if you're in retail, weather sunny and beautiful as it's been this last week, which is great, you could swap out to show warm weather clothing, sunglasses, etc. If the temperature or weather conditions, dip below a certain threshold that you can set, you can serve different imagery for cooler weather, or if it's raining, brollies, wellies, that kind of thing. So just worth keeping in mind the different use cases that you can use this in. And the other thing I want to mention too, if you do have triggered campaigns that are live on the fly and imagery or messaging has to change, you can actually go in without having to stop the campaign, go in and swap out your images within the platform. Same with the video content. You can change that, upload a different video without having to put a pause on that campaign. So I'm just going to dive into the system now and show you where that is. Okay, we're just going to go back into our campaign. Okay, and I'm just going to show you, the targeting rules work across every single element, but I'm just going to dive into the live images section here to show you where those are. So it's always section 3, your targeting and testing rules. And if you go in there and you say add targeting rule set. So native within the platform, we always have device rules. So email client, operating system, device, browser. An example here you could use would be for anything for app download, for example. So you wanted to say, right, device is equal to Apple, or you could say Android or desktop, and create different imagery for those icons. And if they're opening on an Apple device, only show the Apple download, go to the Apple Store to download the app. Vice versa, for Android. And then as a fallback for desktop, you could show both. So that's just one way that you could use device-based rules. Location-based. So, if there's different courses for different areas of the country, if you're in the education sector, you can use, location-based. If that's on zip code or a very specific area that you're looking to offer, you can set that up within here. Date and time, we've already covered that. So different deals for different days, month, time zone, part of the day. Environment-based rules. So forecast, you can even go based on pollen levels and forecast UV levels. And then the user interactions that we've talked about as well. And here's the custom. So once you set up those custom fields over here on the right, you click on that, and the examples I showed you within our test account, you can see here those come through. So again, it's just to do it once and it's done. And you can utilize those as well. And with all the targeting rules, you get all the operators, equal to, not equal to, less than, more than. Then you can also layer. You can get very kind of complex in terms of your targeting structure as well. And you do that here just by adding a new targeting rule set. You get your and or operators pop up, and then you can layer those rule sets there and create your different variants. Any questions on the targeting piece in conjunction with the custom fields? No? Okay, we'll move on then to the next section. Okay, and here's another case study here for Chico's. So Chico's is a US women's clothing and accessories line, and they've done the 3 deals in a day, much like the day and deal example I showed you. So swapping out between a different kind of time range within the day, they had a different deal. And then within that messaging, they had, a remind me button that a CTA that you could click to send a reminder email to say that specific deal was about to end and the new one begin. So with regard to this particular case study, they saw 2 times the conversion rate versus the average when they A/B tested, and a 92% unique click-through rate for shoppers who opted for additional email reminders. So really great success with that one. Sorry, no technical difficulty there. There we go, sorry. The next one I want to cover is Live Scrape. So this is a really nice set and forget. So with regard to Live Scrape, this is great. It's just taking a snapshot of your website and could be used to include, moment of open, it's always updated based to what's on the website. So great for latest stock and inventory. If in retail, so most popular or latest arrivals. Times like now, blog posts and information is changing all the time, different articles, pulling that information into email. And if it's always being updated, showing the latest content. For sports, live scoreboards and odds in email, reviews and ratings, and for entertainment, now showing or what's upcoming, what's now and next. So a couple of examples I just want to show you. One's for ITV. And in this one, in most of their comms that they do send out for new programs, coming up, they always include this scrape off of their website. And as you can see right now, we're between 10 and 11 or 10, 12:30 this morning's currently on, looking across all the different channels. That's updated at moment of open every time the recipient opens the email, and then encouraging them to go ahead and click through. Okay, that's ITV. And then M&S do this as well, so scraping content off their website. So they've got a live poll in this one. Do you prefer the floral or the polka dot? And then in conjunction with that, they've scraped the most wanted section of their women's clothing line. And that's always updated as the website updates. So again, nice one just to always have set, pulling that most recent up-to-date information. So as stock changes, information changes, odds change, always pulling that fresh content in. And again, these are actually really, really easy to set up. And I'll show you how to go and do that now. Okay, so with regard to the live scrapes, again, it's just pulling in an image. You can choose to link on that image or not. Any alt text if recipients have those images disabled. Save and next. And this is where you decide what content you want to scrape from your website based on where it's located. So putting your dimensions in for that element, what size you want that to be, where you want to scrape the content from on your website. And then this one here is if you have different versions of a website. So if you've got a US version, if it's a UK version, so there's just different countries in here. Here we go, ENGB. Select that. I'll just keep it to US for now because it's the main Google site. And then there are 2 types of scrape that you can do. So one is very straightforward, which is what I'm going to show you now. And that's the static scrape. So just taking a very certain explicit area from the website, certain fixed dimensions, but you might also have dynamic content. You might have content that changes location on the website and you need to track or follow that if that changes. So there's a little more complex way that you can set up a live scrape, and that's a dynamic scrape. So I won't get into the details of that now. You can reach out to your Communicator account manager who can coordinate some training with me to go ahead and go through that. But I'll show you how to do the static scrape at the moment. So all you do once you specified your URL, the location, you get live scrape. And what that does is going to the website and it's saying what portion of the website do you want to scrape. So this is kind of a drag and drop. You can resize it. Okay, I just say I want to take that portion, very basic example, right? Click finish. And it will update the content that you want to take. And then you can put your click-through URL as to where you want them to go if they click on that. And then with every element in the platform, there's always an error or fallback replacement image. So in the rare occasion that the website would go down, you would just upload a static image here, a click-through that the recipient can click out to, and they never have a broken experience if that's set up. Okay. And again, as I mentioned before, you can do things with the custom fields, the targeting rules. Every element has that ability if you want to have more than one variant or to do any kind of A/B testing. And it's that straightforward. That's how you can set up a very basic scrape. Again, if you're more interested in the dynamic version and having that content change, you can actually, from dynamic, and I'll just show you very quickly here, you can actually go out and select specific areas of a website or certain HTML elements that you want to pull through. So again, if it is a product example, particular products that you want to pull through, even if they have different locations on the web page. So as you can see here, as I'm hovering over, I can select both of those. I can go up here, select that. And as I click on that, let's go down to this one, click to select, it will pop up the HTML selector here. So it's a little bit more complex, but again, it really is quite straightforward. There's a really good guide within the knowledge base on the site to take you through this. I'll just show you here how to create a dynamic live scrape. So again, as I mentioned before, the size of the web scrape area might change over time. The content's in a different location. And it just walks you through step by step what you would need to be able to set that up to grab specific products, areas of the website, content, etc. Again, if you need assistance with that, don't hesitate to reach out to our support team, or we can arrange a separate training call for that. Any questions on live scrape before I move on to live feed? No? Okay. So live feeds, again, very similar in a sense to live scrape. Scraping is taking the content off the website, whereas feed is taking things, if you got particular RSS feeds for blog posts, XML feeds, social media feeds. We do have a separate element called Live Social that can support Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, even Spotify. So all the usual suspects there, as well as user-generated content. Pricing information, availability, any popular offers, latest updates, appointment availability, and again, that odds example. So this is calling into any feeds you have, but we can also go that extra step further to connect to any APIs as well. So that's a little more custom, but it can be done. And it's just making sure that content is as relevant and as fresh as possible within email. And I've just got a few examples here. So Jagex is actually online gaming. And for their gaming, they've pulled in, again, you can see this is personalized as well based on that recipient's totals, those custom fields, their points. Little gamification piece there, and as we scroll down, keep up with the latest updates. And this is getting updated based on a feed they have with us. Another example is one by Montclair. So this is actually using Live Social feed, but this is pulling in their Instagram feed. And with regard to Live Social, it's a separate element, which I'll show you where that is within the platform after this. But you can tailor the look and feel, how much information is being shown on the post, how many posts you want to show. So you're able to change this whole look and feel within email based on even custom CSS if you wish, and how to show those posts. But just making sure that content is as fresh and relevant as possible. And again, interesting things are happening with companies now, given our current situation. Really important to kind of keep customers up to date as to what's going on. And then American Eagle Outfitters, which is a US fashion brand for the younger market. And they pulled in user-generated content. I believe it was Olympic. You can see here in the header, and then down here in the footer. And other things you can do with live social feeds is you can have hashtag-based campaigns. You can filter, edit out, so it's quite flexible in what you can do with the social element. Okay, those were the examples. So what I'm going to do is show you where that is within the platform, both the live feed setup and also the live social feed. So live feeds, to set these up, does require a bit of JavaScript knowledge and CSS for the look and feel. Again, if you're not au fait with that, you can reach out to our support team, or we can arrange a separate training session for that. Or there's always a knowledge base article in terms of live feed setup. So I'm not going to dive into the details of this one. I just want to show you where everything lives. So live feeds, getting started with custom feeds. And then also, how do you set up a custom live feed? There's a really good article there. But what I do want to hop back in and show you is live social. And if I want to add another element to this campaign, I would just go here, add a live social. And this is where you go to stylize and set up the campaign details. You can choose a feed source, and what I'll show you after this is where you can go to connect to your corporate accounts. But if I drop down here, bear in mind this is a test account. You can see I can pull through my Facebook feeds, Instagram, etc. Once you've got those set up within the account settings, they'll be available here in the click down, the drop down. And then, as I mentioned before with that Instagram example, this is where you would go to be able to tailor that. So you can say, okay, post character limit, how many posts I want to show. Do I want to show a complete, simple, or minimal post structure? You can even tailor the body font, title fonts, background colors, the padding in between images, etc. Or you can pull in your own bespoke CSS if there's a particular brand look or feel that you're after. And again, with everything, if the feed's down, the connection's lost, you've always got that option to upload a fallback image. And then just to show you where you can connect to those particular feeds, if we go into account settings again. Let's just take a second. Okay. We go into real-time content. And then here's a live social settings icon. If I click on that, it says live socials, select network. And then here are all the ones that you can connect to your corporate accounts. As I mentioned before, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, I didn't mention that one, your user-generated content, Curulate, Olapic, and then even reviews. We're connected with Bizarre Voice and Power Reviews. So that's where you go to connect. Any questions on live feed or live social? Okay. And then here's one that's been utilized, live feed. So this is for Hot Topic. They specialize as a shopfront online and also bricks and mortar for pop culture and music fans. So things such as Funko Pops, for example, is something they specialize in. My kids are absolutely mad about those. But they were having the issue, the challenge here was they'd send out an email, they'd run out of stock, either in-store and online, and customers were becoming really upset that they weren't able to get what they needed. So they decided to link up to a feed for inventory, and were able to swap out their messaging based on inventory changes. So either now available in-store, online and in-store, or just completely sold out. So that increased in terms of results. Customer happiness, one, but also email open duration was up by 200% and almost a 24% click-through rate for all online shopping promotions. So just a really nice way that messaging can be swapped out based on live feed and targeting rules. Okay, and finally, live data is something I just wanted to show you that is available to you. that's free of charge, it doesn't consume any credits at all, is the live data element. And then what that does, I'll show you what that is. Okay, go back into my campaign. So even though it's an element, it's not really an element. Bear with me just a moment, a bit slow. Okay. Apologies for that. Just close some of this down. Any questions in the meantime? I can answer any questions now if that helps while I'm waiting for this to load for me. No. Okay, well, I'll explain what it does in the meantime until this loads for me. I think I've got too much going on here. It literally is, there's no campaign set up. It is available, is the final in the elements page where you go to set up your campaign and select. It's the last box that you tick. Here we go. Sorry. It's that icon there, and I'll show you where to go to configure it. So again, there's no configuration required. You just tick on this icon in the campaign elements setup page. It'll pop this in, and then all you literally go to do is view campaign. And then what it's going to give you is your typical duration of open embed code to allow us to be able to determine how long in number of seconds the recipient's engaged for, as well as campaign level. But it's going to give you this code here that you pop into your template. Again, it's a 1x1 transparent pixel. Once you've implemented that, you're able to glean all the typical reporting that you would get from a normal Liveclicker campaign. And then you just pop that in the non-Liveclicker campaign. So you can do like for like, apples with apples reporting and performance. So it's that straightforward. And just to reiterate in terms of the reporting suite is currently being redeveloped and is due to go live very, very soon. But in the meantime, if you go to the View Analytics tab here, and then what I'm going to show you is all the stuff that you can get out of the non-Liveclicker campaign for comparison. So the one is duration of open is the main one. But if I click on that, it's things like where they're opening, any custom fields. So if you got that segmentation, you can see the, the performance. Those are all custom. So yeah, day, what device they're opening. Element type's not going to be relevant because it's a non-Liveclicker campaign, but you get language, all of that information back. And you're able to view it in here as a campaign and pull that information off to marry back to the other information you're getting out of Communicator. So that's live data. Any questions? Is there anything that's not clear? Any other use cases that you're curious about?
The only question I had was on the live scrape where you set the location. How does that affect it? Which country you set that to? Because obviously you've got various different countries that'll be opening our emails.
Yeah, that's a great question.
How does that affect it? Where because I saw you just had it set to US there, obviously. How does that affect it for everyone else?
Yeah, so if your website is here in the UK, just drop down and select the ENGB version. So some websites will have multiple sites. So if we think of maybe Gap, for example, we'll have a US site, a UK site, and maybe a different international site. So just say which version you're wanting to scrape. That's actually just something new that we've added. It didn't used to be there before, and I think there had been some confusion in the past if there were businesses that had multiple sites. That was just in there for clarity.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Again, as I mentioned, if there's anything in there that you need extra support on, in terms of our support team or reaching out to your communicator account manager. We can organize a separate training session, a separate overview to go through that in more detail, especially things like the live scrapes where they're dynamic, or the kind of custom live feeds and APIs. But I hope you found that useful. Again, the targeting rules and custom fields are super helpful on the kind of time-saving aspect. So setting up the one campaign, letting the system do the heavy lifting for you, that you're not generating many pieces of embed code and many different templates. So it really does make efficiencies if you can utilize those areas and those elements. Amy, did you have anything else to add?
No, nothing from our side. I suppose it's just to let people know that we will be circulating this webinar so that you will have a copy of it for your review later. And then anything that has piqued your interest or anything that you do need more information about it, just get in touch with your account manager as usual, and we'll be more than happy just to talk you through next steps. But other than that, I just want to thank Jen for her time and for going through this. And yeah, we look forward to doing another one fairly soon.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank everyone for their time. I know it's really precious at the moment with so much going on. But again, as Amy said, don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to have a separate session. And thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.